Ooh.
I am sad there was no chaos for the beginning of the year. But what's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 47 of Hyperspace Hype 2021 New Year season premiere. I don't know. It's just good to be back, I'd say. A lot of fun, a lot of fresh faces here. Joining us as always, we have Carson.
This is we need like the classic Lucasfilm logo that played in front of Clone Wars, like to let people know that we're really serious this year.
Great font.
But yeah, good to be back. Got some new little setup in I literally just turned my desk. I got some new lights over Christmas and for my birthday, so got that rocking. Always making upgrades on Hyperspace Hype. But yeah, I feel like I haven't done a podcast I literally haven't done a podcast in a month, but yeah, it's good to be back talking about Star Wars, talking about this bad boy because it's an amazing start to a new era of Star Wars. I can't wait to break it down in a non-spoiler fashion, and then eventually we're going to dive into all the characters and stuff, hopefully within the next couple weeks, because this is definitely one of my favorite Star Wars things to come out in recent times, so I can't wait to talk about it.
And also joining us as always, we have Evan.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be back. It's been a hot minute. New year, same podcast. Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about everything. High Republic, yeah, I'm reading this book. I was trying to rush through it. Not rush, but like I wanted to dive into it because there's a lot of questions I have. Like I haven't even finished the novel yet. I have like 80 or so pages left. I'm very excited to talk about certain things going on. Super cool. But then, yeah, we have Lucasfilm games to talk about. Super exciting. New era in Star Wars games, hopefully, and then some Ahsoka live action talk that new year, but we're gonna have a lot of new rants, so I'm excited about that.
I would just like to preface that I got it on Audible on a free trial. I was like, finally I decided I'm gonna take the Audible train because audiobook Star Wars is always great. So I got it. And then I also I went bike shopping the other day at like a Target, and I got the physical copy because I was like, it's the first era of new stories. Super exciting. It's cool hyperspace design now. But I'm maybe like half a page. So I am a traitor. So.
It's so fitting that when you hold it up, it turns to hyperspace just in the complete context of the book. I won't say anything, but it's perfect.
Perfect. Where was I? Yes, Star Wars.
Charles Soule.
This is Audible. Yeah, so we'll get to that in a bit. Let's start off with, I guess I'm the only one who can actually properly review this Disney gallery.
Hey now. I'm freestyling.
Did you see it? I was headsetting on my headphones. Did you see anything?
I saw bits and pieces of it through my Twitter feed.
Okay, well, this is also going to be like a horrible review because I watched it like 3 a.m. Christmas before I had to work 7-hour Wonder Woman premiere on Christmas Day because I had insomnia. So it was all quite a blur. But I was watching it, and it was fun. It's always fun to see behind the scenes of Lucasfilm and stuff, and it's interesting. It is funny, like every time they're just like, yes, breaking into the mold of live action from animation, which we're going to discuss and get into. But it's so fascinating to hear. It's like this was Filoni's desire to like want to do the live action stuff. So it's like it's just counteracting our interest. But it was interesting. I'm pretty sure the whole time I was going through, I think I was most intrigued to see like how they pulled off the Luke Skywalker stuff for the finale. I don't think they actually discussed that.
I was about to say I didn't get to that part, so I was very curious to see what you had to say, but it turns out they didn't discuss it that much.
I was waiting. I was like, are we gonna see Mark on set? Are we gonna like see some stuff? Nothing. Like they didn't touch it. I was like, there's 3 minutes left of this episode. Are they gonna discuss it?
Mark is so proud of it, he didn't even walk on set, probably.
Right. But it was interesting. I will say, I think like the most like fascinating thing was just like watching the bits about Peyton Reed and like his involvement, because like whenever we like hear and like we talk about the different stuff with like what Peyton does, maybe more so than others, we kind of give flack. I personally have no problem with the dude, but
it's mostly me, I'll admit.
But I will say it's fascinating because like I'm watching like his involvement like as a director, and he's doing like great stuff like in terms of, so maybe it's just like the content of the writing he's dealing with that he has to translate. I don't know, Wait,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a solid director. I always give him flack for it, but he's a solid guy. It was funny though when I'm watching the doc, I'm like half paying attention to it, but he says like this one line where he says, like my episode has a lot of action in it, and I'm like, really? Is that really the case? Like, is there a lot of action in your episode? But I guess he was talking about a lot of this stuff with the spider and everything going crazy, with Mando.
I think they were made a direct like callback to like Alien and stuff, which is I like took
Exactly.
what it was really about. I really love that.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that too. Or like, there was a lot of Indiana Jones references and a lot of Alien references, especially in the early bits of the season. You could just feel that in every episode, and I'm excited to dive into this doc more. And also, I do need to go back and watch speaking of just like docs in Star Wars, like I just need to go and binge the one that's attached to the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah, I never watched that one. The Skywalker Saga, right?
Yeah,
Skywalker Saga. But yeah, I mean, I guess what I don't know what it was. If it was just like it wasn't because it was weekly this time, and it was just one thing that I felt like it was kind of going to be brush over a lot of things that I just didn't feel as compelled because Wonder Woman and Soul came out on Christmas, and I'm like, I gotta like do that first before I get to it, and then just slipped away. But I've been seeing. We got to talk about. I don't know if this is jumping ahead too much, but the man himself came to set. Part 2.
Oh yeah, I just got to that part.
Yeah,
I didn't finish the doc, but I got to that part, and John like having him hold Baby Yoda, and he's like, "No, I don't want to do that." But then he started holding Baby Yoda,
which is funny because we saw the blurry picture. We saw that blurry picture way back when of like someone on set, or I think it was John, literally taking that picture.
You see that in the doc. You see John like holding up his phone, like okay,
just
George,
fanboying out,
cool.
like
yeah. It was really cool.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's really cool to see George there. He was only in the doc for like a minute or two, right, Nathan? I think I can't remember.
Yeah, not very long. I think like there was also like a quick snippet of like George and Rosario together on set, which was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, that's the part where I ended on too, about the Rosario Ahsoka episode. It's not my favorite episode of the season, but it was really cool seeing Rosario try and get into like physical form there. Like fighting with her stunt double there, trying to get the moves correct, trying to honor Ahsoka's legacy. Dave had like a whole 2-minute spiel about the importance of Ahsoka and how they cast Ashley Eckstein for it, how it was so important to get like all the fans coming from the animated shows are going to be watching this most likely. So they want to get the character right. And they went through like a lot of different iterations for the lightsaber alone. In terms of trying to get the right size of the lightsaber, they keep trying to have to
the
change
hilt
it.
shape, like the thinness they wanted to commit to.
Exactly. Which is really cool. Also, they talked about how especially in like the new Star Wars, how the lighting of the lightsabers has really developed since like the prequel era or even the original trilogy, where when you're fighting with a lightsaber, the light of the lightsaber can now be shown on the actors' faces, even before before all the effects even come in. So like
which they've been doing since Force Awakens onward.
Exactly, right? Like in my head I'm like, oh yeah, it's like really true, because in the Force Awakens when Kylo and Rey are locking sabers, you can really see like the blue and the red and the purple glint of of everything going around. Even in the behind the scenes of the Force Awakens when they're practice fighting, you can still kind of see that. Same thing for The Last Jedi as well, which is really cool to kind of note.
I did like take notice of like an evolution to that, because like I remember watching like BTS stuff for Force Awakens. I'm pretty sure the sabers just kind of like flashed on fully, but like with like the Ahsoka sabers, they actually like did that slow pulsating light up, which was great.
That's sweet.
Yeah, I love it. Like the slow ignition.
And it's kind of a testament too to like, I feel like, not that the fan community directly contributed to that, but like there's some pretty insane fan sabers that you can buy out there that like have like effects that if you like hit stuff and like just like pulls it out. But it's cool though, because it was like, it was pretty separated before of like, oh, this is the saber that glows, it's not, it was just kind of a green screen stick back in the day, and then now to actually like see them like be utilized for like lighting and with the volume and all that. It's cool.
How do you think they were able to track like those like just super thin sticks from far away, and like they're working on like 4K monitors? Like,
it's crazy.
I don't want to think about it. John Knowles' garage. They're just like trying. They probably got like a little something to zoom in so they can see each frame. Like, oh my god.
I literally saw like old photo, not what kind of like older photo of John Knoll like working on Revenge of the Sith, and like there's just like a Grievous VFX shot on this like old like 90s computer, and like Jesus, how did you do it?
It's so stressful to like look back on, like, and it's crazy. Just again, we said it time and time again with the show, like how much the technology has impacted their ability to tell these stories, and like whether it's planets, or in this case, Ahsoka's character and just everything. Did they talk about it in the doc? Like, was her look all practical? Like, did they do any like touch up? Like,
I didn't get to that part.
I didn't notice any. I'm pretty sure they like were doing like all like super like intricate like painting like onto the same equal detail every time for her face, and like they put like over the headpiece and everything. Like it was all pretty practical.
Yeah. But yeah, the design overall is still pretty cool. I like where they eventually got to it. I also want to discuss like the volume, because for season 2, everybody's so excited. It's always bigger and ever better, and for season 2s of anything. So they said like for season 2, the size of the volume got even bigger. Like it was massive for season 2, and Dave, like when they were specifically doing the Ahsoka episode, even though it's all shot in the volume, everything from the Ahsoka episode is in the volume. He wanted to give it that atmosphere, so everything like the particle effects and everything was like very much like in his head. Like he wanted to get the details exactly right.
I heard Dave make a kaiju reference of just saying like we got like giant monsters in the back. Like
yeah, he did.
I was like, hell yeah.
Those are so cool. That's one of my favorite little details of that episode is like when we first get to remind me what the planet's called. It's
Corvus.
The city of Corvus.
Yes. Caladan or something.
Oh yeah. It's the planet is Corvus, and remember that the city is Caladan because
I think it's the other way around.
It might be the other way around. Anyways, there's a planet in Dune called Caladan where Paul Atreides is from, and so that's how I remember that.
I might have heard a Dune reference in this doc. I don't remember. I feel like I did. I
would not be surprised. It's maybe the worm.
I think I heard the Dune reference from the premiere. But it's super cool to see. There's a lot of great stuff. And I think what I adored most about the doc was when they got to the part of Bryce Dallas Howard's directing. I feel like she was.
I was literally just about to say that too. Yeah,
so involved. She's like, because she really is just like a big Star Wars fan, which is great. But also, she's like really like determined to get like the best out of the direction. And I think like she has like one of the most like one of my favorite shots is like when they like blow up the ship and they like fly off. That's one of my favorite shots of the whole season. And I think they might have showed a bit of like making that. It was great. She's so great.
Yeah, she got to the part where the internet, like the favorite moment from season 2, where they're hugging the frog lady and the hugger hugging, and she's like, "I want you to come in here and I want you to stop, look, and hug." And it's like, oh, it's really really cool. And then it's just really cool seeing Pedro talk up how good Bryce Dallas Howard is, saying like she was born to be the director. She's coming in with like, it looks like she has a lot of experience, even though she kind of really doesn't. But she's still like calm and happy and kind on set, but also very exact in what she wants, which is really cool to see.
Didn't we talk about this too, right? When she was a kid and sitting around with, and Ron. It was like she told the story in the press last season of like sitting around with her dad and then George and then Kurosawa, and I'm like, just the knowledge that she probably soaked up as a kid, like, that's incredible. And then to see her directing Star Wars, and then of course in her episode we get the Apollo 13 reference when the ship's basically crashing down into the whole deal. In the atmosphere. So I love seeing that story just kind of play out, and we say it for like a lot of the directors that we love in Star Wars, but I really hope they keep her around and give her more to do, because she's proved her episode. Honestly, some of the powerhouse directing of each season has been from her, I would say.
Yeah, it's still one of my favorite episodes of the entire season. It's probably like my
Yeah.
second or third favorite episode. It was
The Heiress, right?
well
Is that
done.
what her
Yeah.
episode is called?
Exactly. Yeah. Bo-Katan
Oh,
was really good in that. Oh, and
yeah,
speaking
yeah,
of Bo-Katan,
yeah. Katie Sackhoff.
Dave was super excited to get Bo-Katan in, Katie Sackhoff in. He was saying how back in 2009 or 10, when they were doing her first introduction of Bo-Katan in the Clone Wars, how he's like, "Hey, maybe we can do you in live action someday." And she's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, whatever."
Sure, Dave.
Sure, yeah. And then now she's actually in the armor, and he says like she's just perfect for the role. I think he's exactly right.
She's the best translation we have seen from animation live action.
1000%.
Easily, yeah.
It's so good.
Definitely, yeah.
I think she was again like super emotional too. Is like what the day of is like. Oh my god, this is so great! It's so great to see.
Mm-hmm. It was so seamless, and he said like it didn't take a lot of like new direction for her to learn to it. Kind of like what Rosario had to go through for Ahsoka. It wasn't really like that for Bo-Katan and Katie Sackhoff because she was so used to it already. It's just translating that into live action, which she's good at. She's been playing that similar type of role in her other TV shows as well and movies as well. So it wasn't really completely new to her.
Yeah. So good. I'm trying to like.
And then the last part I ended on was Robert Rodriguez in his episode, and one of the best parts about this doc is how like this isn't like a singular doc where last season we talked about the cinematography or the direction or the actors. This one is just all about like each single episode. So while they're doing that, we're going in to see like each different director's point of view for how they worked their episode. And when you got to Robert, it's just like you finish up episode 5 with Dave, and then the next shot is like you hear the guitar, the guy behind the scenes just like rocking his guitar, and you know it's like, oh yeah, this is Robert's episode.
This is Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, this is Robert Rodriguez, and all the actors are so giddy about it because it's Robert Rodriguez. You know what you're gonna get when you hire Robert Rodriguez onto your set. So it's really cool to see him work with all the cast members.
It's also really hilarious of just thinking like you remember like last season when they were diving into the fan service topic like between John and Dave, just like, oh, we got the ice cream maker and like the ice cream at 88 looks so cool. That's basically what Robert's interviews were with Boba Fett the whole time. And he's just like, but you know, it's like in like a really like cool fan way. Like he was even like to a point like discussing like this is like the reintroduction of Boba Fett. You cannot screw this up, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I did see from this? There was a clip going around. Is he shot an animatic version? He wanted to have like a version of the choreography done that was like, you know, something that wasn't previs and something he could see the shots because they were going to be shooting on location. And so he did a thing with his kids in his backyard with his iPhone.
Oh, I remember.
If you look at it, it's like the same choreography and like they do all the stuff. It's hilarious and perfect.
And then Dave was commenting on it. He was like, "Were those action figures?" And like Robert was just like, "Yeah, I didn't like really have it." He's like, "No, you don't understand. That makes this the coolest previs I've ever seen."
Yeah, right. Like that's amazing.
That's amazing.
It's all fun around. It's great.
Yeah, it was a fun doc. Like not the most in-depth doc, but like I said earlier, the best part about this is getting each director's point of view. People like Carl Weathers. This is his first time being a director on Mando. And he said he had a lot of fun. Now that he's soaked up what the show really is from season 1, he felt like he could really mark his put his stamp on it for season 2 in terms of directing everything. So that was
cool. And there was another like incident, I think, like in the discussion for the finale of just like the like building of the and the previs of the Death Troopers, which I thought was really cool. Like they wanted to like, I think they were doing a thing where like they actually had like actors in suits doing it, but like they were getting like those best robotic sequences of like the performance, and like they even like had to like do like a recast of like the mold of the arms to make them thinner for more robotic aesthetic, which I thought was like really fascinating.
Cool, yeah.
So did they mocap it in a sense? Like, did they just have like stand-ins? Like,
yeah, it was mocap, but at the same time they had to like do it in a way because like they also wanted to get like the realistic reflections to get like the like realistic translation for the VFX. So like they had to be like super still as well, just like the robots would, which is insane.
Oh my god!
But you know, well done there.
Really cool.
Yeah, a lot of great action throughout the finale, which is basically like how a lot of it was going. Yeah, they really touched on the Luke stuff, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
That's really weird.
Probably because it came out So the end of Mando came out.
Maybe that's December. Like another instance of like because they actually, I think they addressed in the doc, or at least in like one of the interviews I was watching with like John, about how like literally all the casting rumors leaked. We do not want to leak the Luke stuff.
Right, and that's another thing in the pipeline.
In the doc?
Baby. But I don't know, maybe I was watching like an interview he was doing. I think it was an interview. It was about Luke stuff. Yeah, like how everything had leaked. But the Luke thing somehow, which I'm impressed by that.
All those scoops.
Even Timothy Oliphant.
Yeah. Timothy Oliphant was 8 months before Mando. We're like, Timothy Oliphant's playing Cobb Vamp, and we're like, what?
I wonder what happened. I'm like, season 1 was so secretive. Like nobody knew a thing about season 1. Season 2 comes around. It's like Timothy Oliphant, Bo-Katan. There could be Sabine and Thrawn and Ahsoka.
Michael Biehn. Like what?
Yeah, I was like, what is going on? Like it's like a leaking ship over here.
Wow. But
maybe the same. I wonder what it's going to be like for season 3. That's going to be another huge roller coaster because it was like months on end about all those Mando scoops.
And there'll probably be confusion between Book of Boba Fett scoops and Mando scoops, and there'll be all sorts of crossovers and crap. Yep, everyone's like, and we're all gonna freak out, and then it will like be in the other show, and then the speculation game. That's what we do.
Yeah, so
that's how we roll.
So it was a really fun doc. I am bummed we can't get as like in depth as the first season, but obviously we're more quarantined. So hopefully in the further seasons to come, and like when the vaccine is distributed, hopefully we can get back to like those roundtable fun dynamics, because they were always so great.
Oh, I guess that does make sense. Now I think about it, you can't really do a roundtable with a quarantine.
I'm sure they will revert to that if they can eventually. Because I imagine they want to have it stretched out for a season to have it, air weekly like they did for the season 1 gallery.
Yeah. And it's cool. Like, are the other like Marvel Disney Plus shows also doing behind the scenes stuff too?
I hope so.
If I remember correctly.
I think I heard a rumor for that for WandaVision, so I really hope
like they're doing galleries for
I bet they will.
Disney Plus show.
Yeah, I mean, Frozen 2 got one, so
still haven't watched it, but Carson always hypes it up.
I know,
it's so good. You guys gotta watch that.
But I guess for a progression for the topic, just to answer my friend's question here. This is kind of like a discussing we're going to be getting into. Is Ahsoka
still looking for Ezra and Mandalorian season 2?
Funny you ask.
Let's get into it. Let's do it.
I gotta grab some real quick.
Okay, yeah, I'll pull up the Cliff Notes version of what was going on here because.
Right.
I didn't watch the video. This is from our friends at what are they called? Kessel Run Transmission. Kessel Run Transmission with Corey and Noah. They had some news to break this week about the Rebel sequel show, or people most likely call it the Rebel successor show, and what's going on with the Ahsoka miniseries on Disney Plus, which is filming maybe this year. We'll see. And let me pull it up. So breaking it all down, the Rebels animated sequel might be turning live action because it sounds like the Rebels sequel show is the Ahsoka series, which is kind of a weird thing. A sequel series is only going to be about, 6 episodes, 6 to 8 episodes, maybe?
I think it said 6, yeah.
Which is odd. Sabine will be a recurring character. The animated Rebels sequel, this is where it gets interesting here, because it says the animated Rebels sequel was in production. The success of Mando Season 1 changed the course of the project. The series was apparently very far into production, and Lucasfilm doesn't want to abandon animated Ahsoka. Dave allegedly wants her stories to be finished in animation, but that last part there, it's like kind of iffy. They don't know if that's true or not. But yeah, the Ahsoka series is adapting some of the scripts from the Rebel sequel, and the plot is going to be about the search for Ezra, and by extension, the search for Thrawn as well. Like that was teased in Mandalorian Season 2. No word on Zeb. Like we said earlier, Sabine is most likely going to be in it, but no word on Zeb. And many of the screen tests happened during the shooting of Mando Season 2, along with Tamora Morrison possibly coming in as Rex. Not for sure yet. And that's about it. Yeah. he describes the Ahsoka series as like a Rebel successor series rather than an exact sequel to the show.
Do we have it confirmed that it's only a limited series? That they use that explicitly in the announcements?
We don't have that. Actually,
I think so.
I think so. Actually, yeah, I think in the announcement on the announcement page of everything from the Disney Ambassadors thing, I think it said Ahsoka is a limited series.
Yeah,
because also in that Cliff Notes, or I saw it from somebody else, a summary of it. They said that that the plan was to go into the mid 2020s at least for the collaboration between the Ahsoka, the Rangers, and the future Mandalorians in Boba Fett and future Mandalorian seasons.
Yeah,
that was all going to kind of keep going through the 2020s to like 2025, 2024. So it's like it gets me worried. I don't think I buy that it was deep into production and they just swiveled and then just like recycled. So it does not feel like a thing that Dave would do, even like if the success, like it just seems too reactionary for two departments that like play off a deep. It just logistically it seems really weird. However, I think it's possible that he found out the success and then was able to like, oh, I can tell this portion of it in live action and then move into where I want to finish the story. That makes the most sense to me. But what I'm confused about is this being the Rebel successor show and then also overlapping into these other shows, moving towards, as Kathy teased, like this cinematic event or whatever.
Which most people think is going to have to be Thrawn, which I'm not.
Yeah, which is weird. So it's like, okay, we're going to be telling the sequel to a show that was animated, which potentially puts recasting and some casting decisions on the line. Also, a character, Zeb, who is, and Hera, who, basically are not human characters, which they can pull off in live action. It's just going to be a different feel. And Nathan brought this up on the poll. I don't know if you want to bring this up, like
we have results.
Are people that saw these references in season 2 of Mandalorian, like did like the general audience people understand like, oh, this is like what's going on and these who the people are? It's like then you had to backtrack to 2 animated series and then like watch a sequel that's in live action but then mixes with the Mandalorian. Yeah. So it's just a lot of question marks that I have.
A lot of question marks.
So the poll I hosted, I asked, when watching The Mandalorian, did your parents or other family members know who animated characters were, like their stories and such? 14% said yes, 86% said no. And I had a follow-up question: if no, have they actually watched Clone Wars or Rebels? Like, have they started it since? 5% said yes, 95% said no.
Wow. Is he did the last stat again?
If no, did they start a journey of watching Clone Wars and Rebels? 5% said yes, 95% said no.
Wow. Yeah, that's the thing, right? So, and this is, you kind of saw this in the Mando behind the scenes doc too, where he's talking about how a lot of the fans who watched Ahsoka in the animated series are going to be watching it in live action. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you can put that kind of logic into this Rebel successor show, especially what Carson was talking about, because if you're building it on top of the lore that has been set up in Mando, it's just a lot of convoluting things. I know people want all these connections. That's cool. But when a show has a cliffhanger like the Rebel season 4 did, where they're looking for Ezra, they're looking for Thrawn, I feel like it just has to be continued in animation. I don't see the advantage of swiveling into live action if this is true. This is all on the basis of if this is true, because swiveling into live action just on the basis of it worked well for Mando. Mando's a popular live action TV show. That's the only kind of logic I can apply to this, because I watch a lot of animated TV shows. I don't remember the last time an animated show continued its story into live action. I was having a conversation with some friends at work and at school, and I'm like, it's like continuing Avatar: The Last Airbender season 3 and doing season 4 in live action for some weird reason. It's like, no, you already established the lore of the show in animation. Why are you going to change that into live action? And for all the live action people, you're expecting them to have watched Rebels? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And you can, because I posted this on Reddit, and a lot of people responded to me saying like, "Well, Dave and John, you got to trust them. They're smart writers. You can establish continuity by just having it be like spoken dialogue, saying like, oh yeah, my friend's name is Ezra. We have to go look for him. This is what the show is going to be about." Yeah, you can do that, but then there's a whole 4 seasons of character growth and character attachment that the audience has had that the newer viewers just won't have. It kind of goes into the same issue I had with Mando season 2, where at the end Ahsoka's like, "Where's Thrawn?" And people are like, "Oh my gosh, where's Thrawn?" It's like, most people don't care because most people don't know who Thrawn is.
And the people that don't care, their whole premise for this Ahsoka show is like, oh, there was this girl that showed up with lightsabers. She seems really cool. She was able to figure out who Grogu was. Like, I wanted to know more about this character. And that's what, that at least to them, it's like, oh, that's what the Ahsoka show means. And that's what probably would get them to click on it, is seeing them in Mando versus our perspective of having, the 10 years of show after show and books and all of that. So it's just like, it's going to be interesting to see where it ends up, where they land on like retreading stuff to like tell it, or does it take the actual successor route of just picking up and figuring things out? I mean, it's like Rebels was a huge show. But I mean, it was also a show that was on Disney XD. Like, it's not nearly as big of a show as the success of The Mandalorian has created for Disney Plus. So I'm just curious to see how that plays out.
Or even the Clone Wars, right? The Clone Wars appeared on Cartoon Network, a very popular kids network, for like 5 years or 4 to 5 years. It was on Cartoon Network every Friday. Very popular. My dad watched it. We all knew it was happening because it was like one of the first big animated series. Of course, they had the other Clone Wars animated stuff early in the 2000s. The Clone Wars, the Clone Wars, and the movie too, which was very well received, right? But
now together an arc and just put it in theaters.
I know, right? Rebels was something like Carson said, it's on Disney XD. It kind of got shafted towards the end of season 4 because you could only like watch the early part of the episodes on your computer, like on Disney XD. If you guys remember that, it was like you had to look it up on like DisneyXD.com or whatever, and then they showed it like on Disney Channel the day afterwards. It was really weird, but it had its audience, and of course, we're going to be there when it transitions to live action. But my friends at work who have no idea who Thrawn is, who have no idea who Ahsoka was, probably still don't because they didn't go back to watch Clone Wars or Rebels. It's just going to be very confusing for them. And again, I know they can probably explain in episode 1 saying like, oh, this is where Ahsoka's mission is. But that connection there just isn't going to ring true to me. And I like Filoni, and I just can't understand the switch here. I understand where he wants to start doing live action more, I guess. But the animation was where it's at. I think live action is much more limiting, especially for a show like Rebels, for a show like the Clone Wars, which this Rebels successful show is going to be modeled after.
Which is actually like a real life thing I was like thinking in regards to like what I'm doing, because I literally like my series that I'm coming out with, the animation, that was originally supposed to be live action forever. But now I'm actually realizing this is actually better because granted, I'm obviously not Lucasfilm with their budget, but it's like, it was an instance I was thinking like I would have to like restrain myself budget wise of like how I can like pull off VFX stuff. But with animation, like sky's the limit. You can like pull off whatever you truly want. And that's something that they can do. And it's also an instance of like that we've seen where it's like, we can have like young versions of character, like in Rebels, like we see like Lando and Leia and like that. It's simple, but like when they did it with Luke here, it was kind of jarring in live action.
Exactly. And I just want to share some of the responses I got on Reddit. I know I shouldn't be on Reddit. Reddit is like a hive mind, but when the post got posted on Reddit, I just had to share my thoughts, and then of course people responded to my thoughts, so I felt like responding to them as well. But a lot of it was like, if you didn't see the Rebel show, you can kind of get the basic idea of the series. I think John and Dave, they did so well with Bo-Katan this episode. I mean, in Mando season 2. But even in Mando season 2, none of Bo-Katan's story was really transitioned into Mando season 2 in a way. Like it was I don't want to say it was like a blank slate, but all you really needed to know about Bo-Katan and Mando was like she's
Dark
the
Saber.
heiress
I want Dark
and
Saber.
the Darksaber. I want Darksaber. It's kind of all you really need to know. They didn't really dive into the fact that, oh yeah, she already gave this girl named Sabine the Darksaber in Rebel season 4. That wasn't really necessary to the story going on in Mando. But if you're going on with the Ahsoka being a Rebels thing, it kind of is necessary to know, hey, there's a Jedi named Ezra Bridger who captured a Grand Admiral named Thrawn, got taken by space whales into the unknown regions. Space whales. Can you see that in the live action?
I don't space whales that have the capability of hyperspace.
Of hyperspace, right? Like, again, these are the kind of things you probably won't dive into in live action. And it's just because it's so weird and out there. And I know Star Wars live action, Star Wars movies can be weird. Freaking Last Jedi is a weird Star Wars movie. That's why we love it.
Are we gonna do like loaf wolves in live action and like
loaf wolves? Another being that
either.
can teleport across hyperspace within a planet, like they did in season 4. Which is crazy.
Which I always found so fun about like the animation, especially in Rebels, like because Dave can take all of the crazy like ideas like from Waff McQuarrie's concept arts and he can like implement them into his series, and he did like in the instance of like the spiders that like end up being in Mando, granted, but it was just like an interesting thing like at the time because it's like we didn't have this before, and like diving into like weird stuff like Bendu and all that, and like these giant like Sith temples, which we kind of did for a second in Rise of Skywalker. I was like, oh cool, but they couldn't even go as far as to do a holocron. So
yeah, exactly. Imagine Darth Vader versus Ahsoka, but in live action. Like I know some people think that's awesome and stuff. It's possible, but I'm like the way the animated melded the voices of Vader. Like you can't really kind of do that. I remember like he says Ahsoka. Like they meld. I'm blanking. Matthew Mercer's voice in Clone Wars with live action Vader. Like it's hard.
And even like when I think of the choreography, which is like so swift in animation, like I don't see in live action Rosario like running to like jump for a few seconds onto Vader's chest to do a couple slices and then
right?
And that whole environment too of like where that fight takes place. Like how do you? I mean,
everything's great, but like that's very like lighting intense.
It's crazy. It's weird, right? Because like Star Wars animated lightsaber fights can get weird and crazy and out there. One of my favorite lightsaber fights in the Clone Wars is Palpatine versus Maul and Savage. It's so intense. Good. It's crazy. You cannot do that in live action. It's so, especially with the old guy like Palpatine.
You're not seeing Ian McDiarmid like one hand both.
No, you have to do it with like the whole stunt double thing. It'll get a little goofy. But even in the Clone Wars season 7, Maul versus Ahsoka, like when the glass shatters and the glass is in their face, like the beauty of
that's.
Now, granted, that was
irreplaceable.
That was mocap, but I think that was like to like bring a lot more like heavy weight to like this finale.
Right.
And
my
like,
biggest thing.
Yeah, go.
My biggest thing is like, I don't want. It seems like Dave is so kind of hell bent on, oh, live action is so cool, and now that I have this opportunity, like I get to do it. But I don't want him to kind of end up, you know, like George in a sense that like, so enamored by the possibilities of the technology that becomes his focus, and the story maybe it doesn't get all of his attention. Of course, you know, I completely trust him for these characters that he told for so long to finish out, and I'm sure that he's had it polished up and thinking about ideas. But I don't want him have to compromise and write himself into a box if he finds, as he becomes more experienced as a live action director, because as we've just been saying for the last 5 minutes, there's just ideas that once you film them, they're probably might not be as close to your intentions or imagination as the freedom that he had with animation, which is fine. But I just don't want him to have to compromise anything creatively. For
it feels
the finale of stuff.
It feels like he's literally becoming George in a sense, which, you know, he was like George's apprentice and stuff. But it feels like he could start going down the path that you know, we weren't overly happy with, like how George did, because like there was like, you can go back on like old interviews where George like special effects without a story is a really boring thing, but then he's like make an Attack of the Clones, and then it's getting like pretty intense.
And don't forget that George wrote like 80 scripts for that live action Coruscant show that was supposed to have the Coruscant Underground show.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was what George wanted to always do was, do the Clone Wars, yes, but then get out of that and tell this expansive live action deal where the technology would hopefully get there by the time he would do that.
Well,
and
it was
now
also
it's
a similar thing that they also they discussed that in like Kathleen Kennedy says much in like the first season of Disney Gallery about how like George always wanted like something like the volume like literally like from this space to your garage you could just make like any place in the galaxy, which I think that's kind of like what George had imagined when he made like every set in the prequels, like green and blue screen. So I mean, yeah, that's cool that we were able to develop that. But I like I said, you were saying I don't want like the VFX and like the vision of it, the story aspect that's most important.
Also, in terms of live action and Dave Filoni, I'm kind of I trust Dave Filoni with the characters. Yes, I do.
But he's only directed 2 episodes.
He's only directed 2 episodes. That's true. And there's still something scratching in the back of my mind about Dave's live action storytelling. I still think it's very different from how he handled Clone Wars or even Rebels. It feels like maybe this mostly has to do with Jon Favreau. I'm not sure. But in terms of live action so far with Mando, while I like Mando, it feels like a show that's infusing a lot of these connections. And I've heard this a lot in the Mando doc as well, where he's like, oh, like we can put this in there. They'll understand that. Like, oh, they understand the Boba Fett spurs. And even in the doc, he was saying after Mando season 1, we have the room to go out there and more open with all these, like, he said, quote unquote, new characters. I'm like, there's no new characters in this freaking season.
If I think is like there's the side Mandos and there's like kind of Cobb Vanth, but he's in a book.
Yeah, and it just seems to me like in Rebels there was never really like that whole connection of like those crazy Easter eggs. Mando seems like a show built around Easter eggs and connections with the larger thing. Clone Wars and Rebels wasn't really like that. Clone Wars had arcs specific to the characters. Rebels had like a freaking season 1 through 4 like story arc where characters were getting developed and everything. It wasn't really like, hey, you'll recognize this from this or this from this. Yes, there were other tiny ones like where they were doing the whole Y-Wing or B-Wing episodes. And in Rebels Recon, you had Pablo Hidalgo saying like, oh,
we got space pigs and all. Yeah.
Yeah, like we used this from old concept art. And that was really cool and all. But it just seems like Dave's storytelling is way different for live action than it is for animation. And that's what gets me nervous most of all.
For sure.
And that just gets me nervous overall for this Ahsoka and the Rebels thing, because what I envision for Rebels' successor show is a focused show basically about Ahsoka and Sabine looking for their friend Ezra.
Yeah, because I feel like this like scariest question that like they keep posing to themselves is like, wouldn't this look cool? As opposed to just locking into the story.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly, it's a perfect quote there, Nathan, because it's a lot of it like, wouldn't this look cool if we do this shot or this shot or this shot? And we saw that a lot in Mando season 2. That's why like me and Carson are like, I don't know how I'm feeling about Mando season 2. We'll see how it feels in the finale.
Greatest villain, Moff Gideon. Greatest villain.
And the finale was all about like, wouldn't this look cool if Luke Skywalker did this, and this? I'm like, sure. But also, like, what does it mean for the story? Because these characters have no idea who Luke is.
If I was watching like a Luke-centric story, I'd probably feel like more in depth with it. But at the time, it's just like, I know Luke, but like this is, I'm here for Din and Grogu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like especially, I keep having to go back to the difference between Rebels and live action. Like, is Ahsoka going to explain the importance of what happened to her in the world between worlds in live action? I don't think so.
Right. They used like the symboling of it in her show logo. So
yeah, so I'm like, maybe they could. I'd be totally surprised and I'd be up for it. Cool, because that's integral to why she's looking for Ezra. She owes him. Like
the one reason I'll be cool with this World Between Worlds live action is if it could be my stepping stone to Ben Solo being saved.
I mean, always back in my mind, always, forever and always. But yeah, she kind of owes him. Like, of course, they're best friends, and she's a Jedi, and she like cares for Ezra, of course. But also, Ezra kind of saved her life, and she kind of owes him for that. And is that going to be explained in a line of dialogue in Ahsoka season 1?
I mean, yeah, like in her episode, like it was easy to make like an Anakin reference because we're all very familiar in like the fall of Anakin and Vader.
Of
and, like,
course.
Anakin trained Ahsoka. Like, yeah.
Or
Or at least like
Filoni being
if you're
like,
in the know,
the
yeah.
audience is going to understand that. They're going to understand us,
Yeah.
Anakin and everything. Yeah.
But something as crazy as like World Between Worlds, which like I have a reaction to on my channel. I always say every time we discuss it. And if you go like we had no precedence of that until that very episode. So when something like that happened, my brain was trying to wrap around like, is this time travel in Star Wars? This is insane. But it's cool though, and I like that you can explore this weird stuff because we're in this animation realm.
Yeah. It's just
That's a lot.
It's a lot, and I'm so nervous about this because it goes back to what Carson said. How can your Rebel Successor show be in Ahsoka, which is like 6 episodes long, and most of these shows are about what 30 to 45 minutes, which you can kind of like gauge like where the Rebels was like 20-minute episodes, and there's like 12 to 15 episodes per season. I forget how many there were for Rebels. So maybe this can like add up to what a Rebel season would have been like. But even then, I'm just not trusting in the writing yet from Favreau and Filoni to really set this up correctly, and especially in sense of all these new Mandalorian projects, because Ahsoka is going to be around the same time as Mando. So what I wanted was a focused show about Ahsoka and Sabine looking for Ezra. What I'm fear we're going to get is a show that's also looking for Ezra and Thrawn, but also connecting to the world of Mandalorian, adding different characters in there, maybe building up to a Thrawn event thing after the New Republic show. The
Don't
Ahsoka
forget we
show.
have Hera. We have Hera and Zeb still. You know, we still have
Hera and
characters that
Zeb.
you would think the successor would touch on. Of like, especially with like, I think Hera is just a great character to just to be. I would love to see, obviously we got to get that reunion of like eventually.
I really need to know like what Hera's involvement was in Squadrons. I really need to play Squadrons.
Oh yeah. I remember seeing the trailers for that, and then I don't think any of us actually got the game, and then it was like
I don't think it's a big role. I don't think it's a big role at all. But like I was
the cutscenes,
what she's doing. I'd still be curious what she's doing.
I think she's leading the squadron like a little bit before and post Battle of Jakku. But yeah, like for example, like I love Rebels so much. What I envision for Rebels, the successor shows, like when Sabine and Ahsoka eventually find Ezra, like there has to be a callback saying thank you, Sabine. Like remember that one time you saved me against Thrawn outside of Thrawn's ship in space when we were fighting his men like on a star cruiser while we were in space. Like remember that episode? Like you can't really do that if you're doing that in an Ahsoka show because nobody's going to understand it really. Maybe we are, but like not most people are. They're not gonna make those deep cut references.
It's all really weird. It was just like thinking like when you say something like, "Oh yeah, these different shows for an event Thrawn series." It's like I would much prefer an event series of connected shows, like we've discussed before, for like Crimson Dawn and Solo stuff. Like I feel like that would work great, and that's also like a weird thing to like think of. Like we're doing like these like explorations of like here's a mainstream like sideshow, but like here's something that popped up from animation. Like I keep forgetting like Solo did that with Maul for a second, but that's also like an interesting thing that you can expand upon for like a Crimson Dawn show, because that can also be its own entity, like as it is just like in dealing with crime syndicates and such.
Yeah,
and
I totally agree.
And I know we were kind of like saying like why doesn't just like one Solo show like handle these topics, but it would also be cool because like if we're already getting a Lando show, which is crazy. I mean, I'm gonna watch, but it's weird just like seeing like how things factor that way because like we could have had like great development stuff like Han doing jobs and like Kira doing like this crime syndicate stuff, which can also cross over to like how that interactions would go, which seemed really fascinating. But then like we're in this separate instance where like that stuff, if the Solo stuff happened, that's already always set in live action to begin with. Like the animation stuff to live action, it's just weird.
Yeah, again, it goes into the limiting aspect of live action, right? Where it seems like what Lucasfilm wants to do is tell these separate stories. Maybe it's a money thing where they want to tell separate stories, get more viewership that way.
I think like
and then build up to a big event.
Yeah, and I think like just like one more thing to like clarify my thought on that is like it's like an instant, like Maul is like somebody from animation, but like that's just like that's one instant. It's like like what they did with Rogue One. Like Saw Gerrera was originally like in Clone Wars, and then like they brought him into live action. I think that was like the first like real like instance of that. But like that's just like one minimal thing. What they're trying to do is like Ezra, Thrawn, Ahsoka, Sabine, but like all these characters, so many like that with so many different like stories built throughout pretty much the entirety of these animated shows into another show.
Into another show, right? And it worked for a character like Saw Gerrera, who was in one arc of the Clone Wars, and when you bring him into Rogue One, people don't really have to know that his sister Stella died. Spoiler alert! Like you don't really have to know that to understand at all what's going on in Rogue One. Same thing for Bo-Katan and the Darksaber. All you really have to know is like, oh, she stole it or she lost it, which was even new to us as Rebels viewers. You can't do that for a character like Sabine, who again has 4 seasons of backstory. And again, it worked well for Ahsoka when Ahsoka came into Mando, and Ahsoka had like 6 or 7 seasons of backstory, and on top of that, Rebels. But again, the way they used Ahsoka was like you didn't really have to know much besides like, oh, this is a Jedi, and you're mostly seeing it from Mando's perspective. But when you're going a show from Ahsoka's perspective, which is the show is freaking called Ahsoka, and you're adding in a character like Sabine, most people aren't going to have a clue in the world who Sabine is. There's going to be a lot of backstory, and I just don't trust. Again, I don't trust the writing to fully develop or get newer viewers captivated and interested in what Sabine is. I think they'll be like, oh, this character Sabine is cool because she's very badass and she works well with Ahsoka, which is cool. That's probably all they're going to have to do at this point. But I don't know. The investment for me is just lost a lot when you're going in from animation to live action. I'm probably going to like the show. It's going to be freaking Star Wars, but it's probably going to be the way I ingest Mandalorian, where I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is awesome. Some episodes are better than others, but I'm just not going to have that emotional investment if it's not in animation. That's just, I'm being honest. Like, I'm not going to have that investment if it's not going to, at least in my head, what I would think is going to happen, be as captivating as what it could have been in animation, where it's a lot more focused.
Cut to us.
And this is all to say if any of this is true.
Exactly. Because the part, yeah, you're right, Nate. You're right, Carson. Because I want to go back to the part where they say allegedly that this was very far into production, and they just.
Then why didn't they announce it? It would have been announced if it was in production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes like the Clone Wars thing was deep in production, I think, when they announced it, but they didn't even finish it when they announced it in Comic-Con. Right. So like, there's no way you're filming animated Rebels sequel show with presumably your cast of Rebels, cut it, go to live action, and get a new cast, because I don't think you can bring along. I'm blanking on the Ezra actor right now. Crap, but
Taylor Gray.
Taylor Gray, yes. If Taylor Gray is filming scenes for Ezra, which I would assume he would be for a Rebel successor show, then I don't think they'll bring Taylor Gray in live action. I hope they do, because Taylor Gray's a good actor still. But they didn't do that for Ahsoka. I don't know what they're going to do for Sabine. So I'm just not sure. There's a mystery there. And yeah, the whole part of cutting production on an animated series and just swiveling it into live action makes no sense. Either they committed to it or not. I don't believe that they cut an animated show in production. It makes no sense. It's a waste of money.
Cut to us at Celebration 2022 at the panels, brain melting. Like,
it's not. It's like I'm not the kind of guy who's gonna look at the freaking screen and be like, "Oh my god, that's a bean in live action." Oh my god, I don't care. I saw her in 4 seasons in animated. I know what. This is a bean actress. I'm blanking on these names. Jesus.
Tia Sakar.
Tia Sakar. I know what she looks like in live action. She's a beautiful woman. I don't care seeing her in live action. I'm sorry. I already saw Ahsoka in live action. She looks cool. I'd rather see her in animation. It's like, I don't care. I don't care, Bob. That's it.
You know, it's funny. I was watching I was watching some season 1 of Rebels, and it was fascinating just seeing the evolution in the animation, because they're just like, I feel like because they were animated, they wanted to like keep like the attention, because they didn't have like as much slower moments in season 1. So like every time a character's around, they're always like in a constant state of movement. Just like,
you're right.
That's funny.
It's so funny like to watch. Like nobody's still. There's no like set small quiet moments.
The show's very expressive in season 1.
Yeah, but then like I think like season 2 onward, they're just like a lot more chill. Well, I think when we get to Ahsoka, we're getting more chill. Because I watched something like the Twilight of the Apprentice, and it's just like, wow, this is gorgeously shot. But
I can't wait to see them do spinning lightsabers in midair in live action.
Right? Oh god,
right?
People will that
bring them back?
Check out. That's when I.
But I don't know. In general, we've gone on long about this. I don't think we're going to have that investment if it's not animated. I think animated Star Wars has its advantages. So does live action. Of course, each medium has its advantages and disadvantages. And I think the advantages of continuing in animation for the Rebels show specifically far outweighs the advantages of switching it into live action.
Now I'm scared. Now I'm scared. I'm scared I'm gonna watch a Disney gallery for Ahsoka, and like Dave's gonna be around just like, man, wouldn't it be cool if we get like the spinning saber duel like in live action? I'm just like, yes, but also, what's the story, Dave?
Yeah.
Oh my god. See, it would be one thing if it was a brand new show and they're like, all right, new show, Dave Filoni directing live action. You know, he's earned his place. Perfect. Good, go. I don't care. Like.
Yeah. The fact that the reason I'm just upset about this is because there's a history of Rebels. There's a history of animation, especially the story. The story of it all is what mind boggles me. Like, I've never heard of a show that was animated, has a story, has a cliffhanger, and continues that cliffhanger into live action. I've never seen it before.
And it also, like, I don't understand, like, how if you want to, like, end Ahsoka's story in animation, what's the point of this detour to begin with? And, and every time I like think about that, it just makes me think like this seems very unfair for Ashley Eckstein. Why is she just like sidelined for a second?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly right. And granted, that part of their scoop was very iffy. They didn't even believe that part, or they were iffy on that whole ending in animation part. But yeah, I would really want to interview Dave Filoni because it seems like his prerogative right now, especially after Mandalorian, is transitioning into live action. But I just feel like he's changed a little bit in terms of his directing and his mind process for live action. I mean, not completely changed. He's always worried about what the audience wants. He's always worried about what the story that he's telling, and he always wants to get the authenticity. That's not really going to change Filoni. He's a guy who understands the details and understands what the story wants.
Right.
And at that part of Dave Filoni, I always trust. It's just for me, what I've seen from Mandalorian as a show and what they're setting up between the New Republic, Ahsoka, and this big event gets me worried that it's not going to focus on what I want to focus on in terms of the Rebels successor show.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I cannot wait to hear more details about all of this. Because it just seems so.
It's so vague right now. We just don't know.
So vague and plausible. We don't know anything.
We don't know how it's going to connect.
Thing. But yeah, and one last thing. I just feel like one of my big gripes in the back of my head is that Lucasfilm in general, is shying away from animation. That's where most of this rant comes from. Like, I feel like animation should get just as much support in Lucasfilm's future projects as live action, and which is why I was kind of iffy after that Disney investors call where there's like 6 or 7 new Star Wars shows coming out, and all of them seem to be live action except for Bad Batch, which was already announced, and the Star Wars Legends thing, which doesn't even seem to be like an original thing. It seems to be like a interpretation based on anime.
Which is interesting because we always talk about like would it be cool if like there was like a Frozen level budget Star Wars movie, like like stuff like that, and like, but I don't know. It feels like in today's kind of landscape, unfortunately, animation has been pushed to this like, oh, Pixar's the only person that can do like mature animation, and everything else is kids, which is so ludicrous. But like, I don't know.
It's insane to me. Were you gonna say something, Nathan? I'll let you speak first.
Yeah, about like the Visions thing you were saying. Wait, so did they confirm it's just going to be like a translation of like existing stories?
That's what I keep understanding about it, because the whole spiel of the show is like it's going to honor the Star Wars legacy, but in like an anime.
So like Galaxy of Adventures, basically.
That's what it keeps seeming like in my head. I could be completely wrong, but the way I read their initial summary on that StarWars.com article, it just seems like that's what they're going to be doing for Star Wars
Man,
Vision.
because what I
Let me read it again, because that's just my
I don't
interpretation.
think it's that. I didn't get that vibe when we first talked about it.
Yeah, because that's alarming me. Because I was just like, I would prefer just to have Galaxy Adventures expand.
Wouldn't it have said like an original? It says Star Wars animated shorts, give the franchise an animated spin. Just the words like give it a spin on the franchise. It just that's why it had me.
Oh yeah, because we've had animation before. That's a weird sentence.
It says it says celebrates the Star Wars galaxy through the lens of the world's best Japanese anime creators. So
see, doesn't it seem
celebrate
like
is kind of weird?
Like, yeah, it just if it's original, it would say like an original, like what they said for what's it called, the Acolyte. It's like this is a mind-bending original mystery thriller. That's new.
We do know it's 10 different studios though, which gives me hope that they can do pretty much different things and obviously different styles.
Yeah, what I hope that means is that they're going to like maybe we'll have like familiar like set locations or areas, but we'll have our own like set pocket stories of originality.
Oh, that would be freaking phenomenal. I would love that. But yeah, when it says like officially says all new creative takes on the galaxy far, far away. The show's best anime creators, fresh and diverse culture perspective to Star Wars. I don't know. It just seems like, and even when it goes to droid stories, like the new thing, it says like to develop new stories. Like they clarify new stories for there, but they didn't say new stories. It just says
is droid story live action?
Droid story is animation. Is it animation?
We don't know actually. I don't think.
Yeah, the intersection of animation and visual effects.
I think it has to do with
That makes me think of like the
ILM.
The ILM VFX is what I think about.
Yeah, is doing something with it.
Okay. But even then, it's like it's a show about R2 and C3PO. I like those guys; they're great. But it's not like as massive.
Yeah, it's like a kid's like you turn it in Saturday morning, kind of like oh R2D2, haha.
I do love my Saturday morning.
It's just like the old droid cartoons that they update. There you go.
Yeah,
yeah.
And we'll watch them, and we'll spend 30 minutes talking about Ben Solo rolling around on a ball. Like, come on now.
Literally.
We do, and we did.
Look, they put those butterflies in canon. They put it in Mando.
They did. Was that in Mando, right? Yeah. I'm like, oh, come on. I didn't get to that part of the doc. Maybe they say that.
They might, maybe a sentence. No, they didn't bring up the rollouts. No, of course
Dave,
not.
I'm doing this for the Ben Solo fans. He's like, what? What are you talking about?
No, that whole episode was just like Boba Fett. So.
Mm-hmm. So, and Vision's supposed to be this year, so I can't wait to hear more about it. We should be hearing about it more officially soon, because all we have right now is an announcement.
I love when Star Wars is a machine.
Right. But yeah, hopefully, like, Carson, we can have a whole conversation on the public discourse on animation. Like, there was a whole trending thing a couple weeks ago where it's like, I forget what it was, but it was like animation is important, or like why animation rocks, or whatever. It was trending on Twitter. And like even after the success of Soul on Disney Plus, which could get a Best Picture nomination, maybe, it's like animation deserves to have a lot more importance than it is right now. A lot of people are leaning towards, if you want a really well-received show, it might have to be live action. Like Mando is even in contention to get a Golden Globe nom for Best Drama, which seems ludicrous to me. But it's like the most popular shows in like the public discourse are like your HBO live action shows, your Mandalorian live action shows, but not so much animation, which is kind of disappointing.
And of course, we had Spider-Verse, put a huge positive spin on everything.
Exactly, but then that only won Best Anime. That should have won freaking Best Picture in 2018.
And then we did have just like, I think we did have a bunch of Pixar sequels for a while there that kind of were good to varying degrees, but they were sequels to things that people associated with, oh, I watched that as a kid, or like, it's just and then it doesn't help when the rest of the marketplace, DreamWorks putting out
garbage,
Minions and garbage,
Boss Baby 2,
but so that doesn't help the conversation.
I walk by that poster of Boss Baby 2 every day.
Oh God, that trailer played before.
You're so
what
lucky,
did I see? What did I see that trailer before? whatever I saw last in theaters. I can't remember. Oh, Wonder Woman. It played before Wonder Woman, and I looked at my brother looked at me. He's like, "What's what?" And I'm like, "I don't know, dude. Like, it's unhinged.
This
It's off
is
the charts,
opening weekend material.
We can discuss it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Full frame by frame Boss Baby 2 breakdown. Join us.
I will be divulging so much of WandaVision for sure. Like, I can't wait for those 2 episodes tonight.
Hey, Disney Plus, please stop this 3 a.m.
Oh,
shit.
that's right. There's 2
It's the
episodes
worst.
tonight, right?
It's the worst.
I think they're probably going to be like shorter episodes, but yeah.
I assume so, right? 30 minutes long.
Probably like
Especially
sitcom.
because like the sitcom ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
Best Marvel show since Avengers, right?
Show it's the since Ages of Shield. Yeah. Apparently, okay, we're getting off.
That's too high of a bar there, but
no,
yeah.
But no, there's we're getting off topic. But I was also hearing it has like a lot of horror undertones, which I'm excited about.
We'll see. You know, we'll see. Yeah.
It's so
we're gonna get that
because,
Doctor Strange connection.
Like animation discourse, I think there's a lot of hyperbolic crap going around of like.
Yes.
Like I said, like this is a Lynchian something. I'm like, get out of here! You guys need your journalism
log off Twitter.
degrees revoked. You guys need to walk back into your university and give your journalism degrees back.
Hey Carson, this is such an Orwellian take on the
Orwellian.
That's another old hot topic there. Oh man,
it's like people forget how to speak and they're just like buzzword. Like
it's like they can't find a good word. They flip through the source.
I have ran out of adjectives. Oh, yeah. Lynchian.
The dictionary they just pull out, just Eminem style.
Yeah. The Finchurian take on this.
The Finchurian candidate. Let's go.
The Lucasian.
Oh no.
The Favronian.
The Favronian. Back on Favronian's Iron Man sensibility.
He really knows what the audience wants. Oh man. Okay, I'm crying now. Let's move on.
What's our games?
Oh, yeah. That's right. We have games. Yeah. Who's hyped for Indiana Jones? Is that allowed to be?
We're not going to be able to play because it's going to be on Xbox. I don't know.
Presumably. I hope with the whole...
I should really play some Uncharted games.
You really should. It's one of the top 5 game franchises of all time. I love those series to death. And yeah, Uncharted is a Sony-only thing. So it gets people worried, like Uncharted was trending because they're like, oh, maybe Xbox now has their Uncharted in the sense of Indiana Jones, which was based off of... Uncharted based off of Indiana Jones. But anyways, because Bethesda was recently having this negotiations probably being bought by Xbox and Microsoft in general. And they have clarified some of the like upcoming Bethesda stuff is still going to be cross-platform, but maybe Indiana Jones is so far out might be part of the deal that's going to be exclusive to Xbox. We don't know yet, but since it's going to be like a Star Wars thing or a Lucasfilm thing, maybe that might help it not be exclusive. I don't know.
Do you think the indie game is going to drop like closer around the release for
exactly? That's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
is that movie still there?
That's 2022.
They announced at the investor call. Yeah.
And Mangold's doing it. Yeah, and they're going to film next spring
with Harry.
It has to be this spring, right? Is it coming out?
This spring.
Let me go back to my release date calendar. I lost it.
I'm pretty sure it's July 2022, I want to say.
Yeah.
July 29th, 2022. That's what I have right here. So they would have to get filming this year. Jeez, he ain't getting any younger.
But the biggest news I think we heard was not live action. God damn it.
Live action Star Wars video game. Wow.
What? Fallen Order? All right, no, there's finally, after such desire, an open world Star Wars video game.
Whew. This is crazy, right? Like
from Ubisoft.
From Ubisoft, which is like the big open world studio. When you think open world, you think of studios like Ubisoft and Bethesda and
What are the
Rockstar as well.
What are the Ubisoft open world games? Like, are Assassin's Creed open world?
1,000%.
Yes.
Assassin's Creed is where Ubisoft. Mostly would know Ubisoft from Assassin's Creed. I mean, that's where I first started to know them because I bought like every Assassin's Creed game for a while there. I haven't played the newer ones.
Back in the day. Oh my god.
Yeah, I bought like AC1, 2. I still remember watching the first Assassin's Creed 2 trailer like in 2007.
The trailers were like events every time.
Exactly, right? I remember waking up and watching the Assassin's Creed 3 CGI trailer where like Connor's in the middle of no man's land between Great Britain and the American. Fantastic.
So cool.
I remember seeing one trailer that was really epic. I think it had like the Spanish Inquisition or something.
Oh yeah,
was that more recent? I can't remember.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But yeah, I love the Assassin's Creed franchise. Ubisoft gets a lot of their open world stuff from there, but they also have done like Ghost Recon Wildland. A lot of the Ghost Recon games are a little bit open world as well. What else have they done recently? I'm blanking on it. Division. Yeah, that's where I'm going with it. Division, which is going to be a movie with Jessica Chastain and Jake Gyllenhaal, which was in development with the guy who keeps getting action movies. What's his name, Carson? The guy who keeps getting action movies. Deadpool.
Leach, David Leach.
David Leach. He was supposed to be doing a Division movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain. I don't know where that's gone in development.
I don't know why. I thought you were like the guy who keeps getting action movies. I was like Mark Wahlberg. Somehow he keeps getting.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
Sully, no, I haven't. I haven't played Uncharted, but I know his Sully casting is wrong.
It's bad.
It's so bad. Yeah.
But
what was I gonna say?
But yeah, so Ubisoft doing open world. The people in charge of this is Ubisoft's massive studio because Ubisoft is a big gaming company, but they have separate studios, of course. So Massive Studio is going to be the one developing this game. Massive Studio is the one that did Division 2 and I think Division 1 as well. And those are open world, post-apocalyptic shooter games. I played Division 1, pretty decent. I heard Division 2 is even better, but I haven't played it yet. It's just sitting in my library. But Ubisoft is known for their open world stuff. I'm very excited to see what they can do. They aren't the best known for their story, though. But hopefully, since it's like Star Wars, like they can craft a very good story with this open world environment.
Yeah, and I think another plus too is with the video games, at least evidence of, I guess, Fallen Order and other things. That Story Group is very much involved with video games, just because it's kind of on their level of like, oh, it's not the $200 million blockbuster, so like we're gonna like shun you to the side, J.J. Abrams style. Like I don't know. So I think Story Group is going to be very much involved, which is always a plus. If any evidence of the High Republic, especially Story Group, was very hands on with the authors, and it very much shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, just when I was like starting to think about this again, this announcement comes out because I was still kind of grieving that the canceled Amy Hennig, who co-led the production of Uncharted or whatever, which is one of my favorite video game franchises that I've ever played. Uncharted 2 is still one of my favorite video games of all time.
Fantastic.
And I'm obsessed with just that single player open world, all these kind of all this stuff. And so to finally come around and see that the Lucasfilm is ousting this EA deal and just saying, hey, we can make a lot more cool stuff if we don't keep exclusively to one company. I'm so happy that it's not just EA. And granted, I will still be excited for Fallen Order 2 and if there's another cool shooter game that comes out from them or whatever, I'll be excited. But this is gonna be what's on my list, and I hope it's gonna be a while. I imagine it'd probably be. They said it was early development. We're still staffing it.
This is a 2023 at the earliest, probably 2024.
Yeah, I would say even 20. I bet it will come out. Yeah, I would even say 2024, the gap year between when the movies start coming out again, between Rogue Squadron and then this game will come out maybe Christmas 2024 or something, and then
exactly. I think
movie will come out.
What people have to understand in terms of like development time, movies are pretty quick depending on the movie. Then his TV shows take a while, but then video games
Right.
take a long time to develop. So.
And we want them to take their time. God knows after the recent years of video game debacles, not just Star Wars canceled games and whatnot, and paid purchases in the apps and everything. There's just so much to work out.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that this is open world is very fascinating to me because this is something I've always kind of dreamed of for Star Wars. I'm like, I love linear storytelling games the most. Like, I love a series like a Fallen Order or an Uncharted, linear storytelling. But now with this open world aspect, but also having a solid Star Wars story, that brings to the question, is this going to be a make your own character kind of open world thing? Or is it going to be like you're following a specific character and you get to choose like what he wants to do in open world?
Right.
Which is very fascinating. One part of the article that I liked is, I forget who was quoted in saying this. Either it was a guy from Lucasfilm or a guy from Ubisoft. I forget. But he was saying how a lot of the fans want Star Wars content and video games to be connected, and they're not exactly worrying about that, which has me super excited. Like, I don't think we have to worry about the canon of it all, because it's kind of hard to do canon when you're doing open world versus a linear. For linear storytelling, you're telling one story, like Fallen Order, takes place in a specific period of time. When you do an open world where you have free reign to go in different places, maybe do different things out of order, that's where the story gets kind of muddled. So where's the canon going to get involved into that? You can be like, hey, Pablo, did this happen? Because I did this in the open world video game. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is a Star Wars video game. I don't care about the canon.
Write your own compelling story with the characters, and then let the canon come second. I would even be fine with a really loose canon game where it was just like,
care.
It doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't even have to be like alternate universe. Technically, it can just be, the galaxy is massive.
It's a Star Wars video game. Yeah, like when I play a video game, I'm not worrying about, hey, but in episode 6, Luke did this, so I don't think I can play this game. It doesn't matter. Like, if Luke gets his head cut off in this video game, I don't care. So it's an open world Star Wars video game. It's open world, so players get freedom to do whatever the heck they want.
Biggest feature, and I know we all want this, is to be able to fly from one planet to the next through like a hyperspace lane, or go like real space and like go, like over to the next planet. I need it.
Some people in our chat was saying this, but I still think we're a ways away from. I mean, granted, video game technology is going to change in the next couple of years.
Lego Star Wars is doing it.
We don't know how Lego Star Wars is going to be doing it, because I don't imagine like when you say flying from space to space, it just seems so crazy ambitious to me.
They're probably going to be like really close quarters.
Like, if I'm on a planet, am I going to be able to get into a ship like an X-wing, go into the atmosphere, and just fly in open space for a couple minutes, dive back into a planet, go into its atmosphere, and park? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. But think if Rockstar like 10 years ago could create this entire map that renders out for miles on end, you can have the blank space like crazy out there, just like blank kind of, and then just the small area where you're flying in can be like the hugely developed part. And then, I'd be fine with like a limited like hyperspace time. It's not like it'd be like it'd just be like maybe the same animation for hyperspace every time, and then you would pop out and you'd be a certain distance away from the planet every time. Something like that. Obviously, there's going to be limitations.
Yeah, because there's a guy in our chat named Wolf, and him and I were talking, and he was saying, like, you can do it in instances, right? Where you get into space, it does like an instance, and the next thing you know, you're next to the other planet. But then you can maybe dive into there. I'm not sure. But just like, going from planet to planet in a No Man's Sky kind of feel is still crazy ambitious. Crazy ambitious for Star Wars. When I think open world, I'm thinking that what they're really going to do is like develop a singular planet and make it open world.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's where.
Or even if like I can fly to one of the 5 planet moons or something. If the planet has 5 moons, and I can fly up and like do the missions on the moon and land, and then go back, and then like maybe there's like a mission in the sky where I'm like falling in the atmosphere or something, some cool like, I don't know.
That's crazy. But yeah, I would love that. I would love everything you're saying.
Yeah, video games.
I know Nathan's the biggest video game player.
I'm already just sitting over here like placing an order for food later. Like I'll play
an order for that PS5, motherfucker.
I still don't have it.
You'll get one by 20.
Are they on sale? Evan, sidebar. I have not seen a sale for a single PlayStation 5 in 3 weeks. Did they just not stop making it? Like, what happened?
They said that they're going to do some orders in early 2021 again, but I'm not sure.
It's midway through January.
Do you still have notifications on Wario?
Early is everything before.
No, I took off. Wario is making me angry.
He's just doing his job, man. Dang.
Tweets out too many deals. I don't need
Gotta
all
be
these
quicker
deals.
than that. Almost had it. But
Anyways.
okay. Well, I mean, of all like types of video games, I have like two that really catch my eye. Either like ones that are like super story driven, which I think should be my requirement for every game, but also I love open worlds. Like I love playing. I love goofing off in Grand Theft Auto. I'd imagine like it would be fun to like goof off in Star Wars to just like
Oh my god, yes.
hop in a speeder, just go around town or something. Or like probably like more in an element of like something like Red Dead Redemption, where like it's a lot more like open world aesthetics that you can explore and different things like that, which I think would be fun.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think Ubisoft is known for crafting pretty solid open worlds in terms of gameplay, but they're not the best in terms of story. Like, I could be wrong. I haven't played the recent Assassin's Creed games. Maybe the latest Assassin's Creed Viking game has a great story that I just haven't heard much about.
I think a lot of people have been enjoying it.
But people have been enjoying the gameplay. I've heard the gameplay is really fun. I haven't heard much about the story. I could be wrong. I think the story is pretty solid. Getting some solid reviews.
Sure.
But in terms of story plus gameplay, that's where Rockstar comes in because Red Dead is fantastic. Grand Theft Auto always has a solid story on top of a great, expansive open world. So I'm very curious to see where the line is drawn there for Star Wars, where a lot of people are going to be coming in for that story, but also coming in for that exploration element. Another kind of company that's good with that is Insomniac with the Spider-Man games, where they are very open world. You can swing for miles as Miles Morales, but also it's a very emotional, interesting story.
I am so happy. I didn't realize this was actually in connection with the first Spider-Man Insomniac game, but I got a Funko Pop of the costume for the Spider-Punk.
Oh, sweet!
And I think it's my favorite Funko I own. I adore it so much. Like he's got this guitar. He's got, this isn't Star Wars way, but it's just so cool that he's got like his friendly neighborhood Spider-Man logo jacket with like you see his spider face on his sneakers. It's great.
Yeah.
He has a web aesthetic.
Kind of blending in with the hyperspace part, but I get the gist.
It just adds to it. But
I need a Spider-Man hyperspace suit.
I'll design one. That sounds fun. But yeah,
this begs the question for you guys: what other like companies would you want to see doing Star Wars? Because now it seems like Lucasfilm Games. Yeah, Rockstar would be awesome, but it seems like Lucasfilm Games is expanding even more than the 8 years of exclusivity between EA, which I'm super excited about. I would love to see Naughty Dog's my favorite company. I'd love to see Naughty Dog do it.
I want their like in-depth storytelling from Naughty Dog for that for sure.
Yeah, that's just Last of Us Part 2 is just phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
but
we got a 3-hour review of it.
Go watch it, everybody. It's great. We really talked about everything.
We literally like broke down like a second pause. Like before we get there, we have to discuss this. And like, oh, now we're going back some days. Like,
so yeah, Naughty Dog would be great. They already seem to be in development of a new title, which might be a new IP though. But yeah, Ubisoft, Insomniac, I just mentioned who did Spider-Man, and that seems like a great company to do.
Now I'm imagining like in Insomniac style, like where you're like a Mandalorian dealing with like your like set gadget wheel of things for like different circumstances.
Right? Like imagine you're fighting like a Miles Morales combat, and you can pause it, change it, and then throw rockets or throw grenades here, thermal detonators, or jetpack across.
Or I guess in the sense of the Arkham games, because I think Batman had that capability too, just like X-ray scans and stuff, like thermal heat and all that.
Also, speaking of like Arkham and other things, Sucker Punch, they didn't do Arkham, but Sucker Punch did Ghost of Tsushima, and they did like the Infamous game, which are both open world as well with great stories.
That's my pick. I will say
just for aesthetic alone of Star Wars and their influence of Kurosawa and things. Like, yeah, you should definitely get them to design.
Evan, have you played it yet? Have you played
Ghost of Tsushima? I pressed play and then I went to sleep. So no, I haven't
played yet either. I'm
reading a book, Carson.
I know. As soon as I get Ghost of Tsushima,
so am I. It's done.
I am going to destroy my PlayStation storage with photo mode. It's over.
Oh, it's so fun. It's amazing.
Have you finished the whole game, Ghost of Tsushima?
Yeah, I finished the main story, but it's one of those things that like after you're done a bunch of side quests, like, oh,
That's
you gotta
that's
defeat
an
all the
open world,
Mongols.
isn't it?
Completely.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it an open
Yeah,
world?
completely open world.
Heck yeah! How did I not buy it yet?
That's what
It's
just gets
amazing.
me super excited for Star Wars. Open world Star Wars is what I've always dreamed of. Ubisoft is always like in the forefront of that because Ubisoft is known for open world.
Do you guys have an idea of what you want from the story? Like, what kind of character
Ooh.
to follow? Like, do you want to go of like a Force user story? Do you want just like more of like a smuggler?
Great question. First off, I'll say in terms of the era, I don't want this to be original trilogy. It's probably going to be original trilogy. I don't want it to be, but
What if it was High Republic?
that would be the best news of
I
all
would
time.
be down.
Yes. Yeah, High Republic would just be the best ever. Because again, so much freedom. You can do whatever you really want in High Republic. That would be a lot of freedom there compared to original trilogy. Character, I wanted to be a new character. I wanted to be Force user. I would prefer Force user, but I wouldn't be mad if they do like a bounty hunter thing. But Force is what is up my alley, so that's what I always want the most.
I hope if it's Force sensitive, I hope we can get like into like some weird exploration of Force stuff, which is my favorite stuff to do in like Rebels and stuff.
Imagine open world, but you're Star Wars, but it's like you're a Force user, so you're finding different Force artifacts, kind of how you did in Fallen Order, where you like came across different artifacts, but you came across them in a linear story. Just imagine that in an open world.
I would love. I would especially love
some challenges.
Yeah, I would especially love to do like Dark Side Cave stuff, like or like in Fallen Order. There's like an instance where like if you go into like the Bogano Temple, but like you go like in from the back entrance, you just kind of pass through it. But if you go through like the front entrance of it, then you're in the tomb. It's love that.
Really cool.
This is my pick. I just pulled out the book again, the Light of the Jedi, to look at the timeline. I want pre-High Republic, because
everyone please open your page to.
No, like think about this. If you
390.
If you go pre-High Republic, like before, like the most synonymous, and prestigious link between the Jedi and the Republic, like this is their top of their game. I want to see in this book, this is not really a spoiler. If they're setting up the communications with the Outer Rim, like I want to see a galaxy that isn't that. Getting that developed yet, like a little bit before that, where maybe some of the story can be like exploring parts of the galaxy that the galaxy hasn't necessarily connected together yet. Some outposts, some stuff like that. I would love to see like that kind of era. Not like Old Republic, like the war of like all that stuff. I kind of want like an in between period. I think where an underdog character can kind of like rise, and then you can kind of do these different choices, and I think it'd be cool. But I think I do want Jedi like Evan as well, like that. Maybe it's a Jedi trying to find its way, and maybe the High Republic isn't formed yet, and they got to figure it out.
Because that definitely sounds like more interesting, doesn't it? Because like we played like the open world games from like Rockstar with like Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead, where we're just kind of like gunslinging or like stuff like that. But like to do like sword combats and things and like different interactions like that in Star Wars, that sounds.
People mentioned like they want to be a Mandalorian. I'm like, I'm burnt out.
So boring.
I'm bored. I'm burnt out by Mandalorian. It's basically a bounty hunter. You're playing this Boba Fett open world.
Like, I'll just go play Battlefront 2015 and go do the jetpack thing and call it a day.
I really don't want to do that. If we had to be in a timeline from the movies, I would say
maybe like a cyberpunk aesthetic where you can like choose like from like 3 story set options.
Ooh, wow.
That'd be really cool. Ambitious, but I mean, if they could
ambitious but cool. I think for Star Wars,
the same company on.
No.
Look, man, they were rushed. I don't blame them. They just like
you don't blame them. I don't blame
the company like being like, all right, just release it, like, because people get mad.
Yeah. I blame the company, not the people working on the game. Of course.
Yeah.
The technical people.
Yeah. I feel bad.
Yeah, I think if there was going to be a timeline, I think it would be between the Clone Wars and post Return of the Jedi, like that era. Because again, there's 30 years. There's a huge gap of like freedom that they could do.
Yeah. I would also love post sequel trilogy. Just open the doors wide open, go to town on that. And
wow, that would be great.
You you don't have to worry about the canon implications necessarily and the choices there.
I
and
am
it's just a
ready
natural
to visit.
pathway to that.
I am ready to visit Ray's Jedi School. I will be hunting down that.
Yeah.
Who's burning down that school?
World Between Worlds. I found the World Between Worlds Easter egg in the game. Here's 10 ways Ben Solo can return. I'll make the video.
You see a corpse of Ben Solo, you're like, am I supposed to have found this? What's going on?
Oh, no. That reminds me of the Easter egg of like I think the first 2015 Battlefront. Like if you go to like a certain point in Hoth, there's just like frozen stormtroopers.
Oh, that's really cool.
But
Good
yeah,
times.
video games fun.
Video games fun. I'm super excited. The future of video games is bright.
Everybody, pull out your textbooks.
Speaking of bright, we have light.
Wow. Get out of here. Kick him out, Nathan.
I literally had the same. I felt so. God, I love puns, and like I was playing Among Us with a group of people, and like we were just trying to figure out like who the killer was, and I was like just being stupid. I was like, "Yes, who among us?" And everybody was like, vote him," and I got kicked out.
Wow.
I was like, God,
Your sessions sound cruel. Wow.
I know. I need to host my own actually, but yeah, it was all good fun, but I wasn't kicked. I was just voted out, but Look, like I said, I am like maybe like half a page in, so maybe I'll just like read while you.
But yeah, give us your thoughts, Nathan. Like, what are your in-depth thoughts about the page?
Yes, welcome to my actually like first reaction reading of Star Wars: The High Republic. Yes,
I gotta remember how it starts.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Oh, so it is a long time ago. Okay, cool.
Star Wars: The High Republic, Light of the Jedi. The Force is with the galaxy. It is the time of the High Republic, a peaceful union of like-minded worlds where all voices are heard.
Do we get copyright for reading part of the book? Does that happen?
I don't know.
They can't stop.
Can we read the whole book on this?
You can stand the knights.
No, you can't actually read it. Or actually, you can read a book because it's transformative because you're performing it, but you can't put the text on the screen necessarily if it's more than like a little excerpt to like you're reviewing it or something.
Yeah, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Part 1, The Great Disaster.
Dun, dun, dun.
Hyperspace, the Legacy Run, 3 hours to Impact.
Oh,
all is well.
Dude, let's just talk about that right off the bat. The chapter countdowns stressed me out so much.
I don't know why I can't find like I swear to God, Audible had like all the table of contents listed for like the chapter titles, but then I can't find them anymore. I don't know why, but like I was looking at them too. I was like, wait, what? Like an hour to Impact? What? 30 minutes? Fuck.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and they go like at certain intervals. You're like, oh wow, this is going on here. This is going on here. Like I gotta give props to Soul here. And this is gonna be a non-spoiler review because I have not finished the book. Nathan has not finished the first page of the book. Carson has finished the book.
I've finished the book.
But I just gotta say, like in terms of my reaction to the first part of this book, Charles Soule nails the tension, guys. Like the tension is palpable. It's intense. It really hooks the reader. I know it's kind of cliche to say for a book, like it better hook the
2.5 hours to Impact. God damn.
But like the
is this whole story? Is this whole story in a 3-hour time?
I don't know. We'll have to see.
I don't know, Carson. No.
I know.
Part 2. Okay.
I'm
just hardcovers are expensive.
But what I want to say, like the prologue is so intense, it's so gripping, it's so cinematic. I love how many perspectives we get in this book as a whole. Like
that's what I was just gonna say. I think that's arguably that's the strongest part of this is how it bounces around, and you may not know everybody's names yet, and you're like, okay, I gotta go back to this page and like look, make sure this is that character. But once you get on the name game of like, okay, this person that you sort it out in your head, and you look at the concept art, and you're like, okay, this is okay, I got it. And once you get that down for this era, it's super cool. The tension between the common man, the Jedi, the pilot, just all the different like people that are like experiencing this event, at least at first, and the fallout of it and all this stuff that's happening is so well done. Like it's fantastic. Like I thought this book was going to be exclusively about the Jedi for some reason, but I really think the they're not even side chapters. I shouldn't even call them side chapters. I think some of the other characters add so much to the stakes of the story, and so when action picks up for some of our main characters, it makes it that much more impactful. And yeah, it really is cinematic. And I don't want to name any. I don't want to get into the depth of any of these characters.
I'm so sorry,
but
no, you're fine. Yeah,
Avar and Loden Greatstorm, I love them so much.
Is the Wookiee on the left? That's Buryaga.
Buryaga. That's he's a Padawan still.
No boogeyman.
Buryaga's a Padawan. Yeah, he looks tall. He looks like a master.
He's a Padawan.
But he's a Padawan.
I know.
How old is he?
But yeah, Avar, Chris, and Elzar Man. No spoilers. Fantastic. All I can say is one word.
There's a development.
Yeah. I'll just say fantastic.
What was that last name?
Elzar Man.
Elzar Man.
Slytherin. Got it.
Okay, cool. I knew you were going there.
I'm sorry.
Loden is great. My favorite character in the book is Black Guy, Bell Zettifer.
Bell Zettifer. Yeah, he's great.
Was he the one with the
with the dreads with the wolf? Yeah. Wolf's name is Ember. This is all from the concept art, so it's been reviewed before, so it's not really a spoiler. But Bell Zettifer.
I know I keep asking about the concept art, but is that weird tentacle villain guy in it or?
Tentacle. Oh, the creature. No.
No.
I think Claudia Gray said that's gonna be in her book.
That's an Into the Dark.
The Dengar, right? The Dengar.
Yeah, Dengar or something.
No, Dengar has bandages. He's a
Dengar's the bounty hunter. I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
But yeah, that creature, tentacle alien thing is going to be in the comic books and in Claudia Gray's book. The villains of this book, which is again not a spoiler, because Charles Soule has spoken about this, are the Nile and Markian Rowe.
I don't even know, Evan. You have got to the best developments yet.
I'm tweeting. My first introduction to Markian Rowe in the book. I read his first introduction, a couple pages, and I tweeted out this guy's fantastic. It's just his first introduction, and of course the development continues, and he's a complex character. The Nile in general I'm so happy to be so complex. Because I remember, was it a year ago now when we first started to hear about the Nile in general via concept art and official reveals. They were oh, they're space Vikings. Okay, cool. We'll see how can they handle against the Jedi. There's a space Vikings. But the way their culture is set up, the way the characters are described, and the way they impact the story is just very well written and well done. And Markian Rowe is really good. Again, I haven't gotten to the end of the book, so I don't know what is going to happen. So I'm very excited.
But what I will say about I don't know how to pronounce it. I feel like it's Marchion or
I looked it up. I'm pretty sure it's Markian because I went on.
That's
YouTube.
what my brain. That's what my white brain went to. I'm like, okay, there's spice in this name.
There's spice. It's a spice.
I went on YouTube and I'm like, how did Charles Soule say it? So I went to that live stream he did on Monday and he talked about Markian Rowe and he says Markian. So
there's
it's not
Markian.
No, because I wanted to. It honestly, it kind of is. It's I thought it was going to be a Latino name. It kind of seemed like that at first, but it's not. Okay. Anyways, what I will say about his character.
How do you pronounce this?
Rojas.
Are you sure? Is that your final
I
answer?
thought it was Rojas.
Oh God, Rojas is the white thing.
Yeah. See.
Yeah, you got it. You got the spicy. Derived from Rojo. All right.
Anyways,
cool family history.
Marchion Rowe.
Yeah.
We start drawing family trees on the podcast. The screen share.
I have the live stream right here. It says Markian Rowe.
Markian Rowe. The best part of his character, the introduction of his character, at least, isn't really a spoiler. It really just starts to describe his looks. He's very much immersed within this group that you really don't understand how he's the big bad yet. You
Yes.
understand that he's in this group and that he plays a part in it, but it doesn't seem like this
We can talk about this
all-encompassing power thing right
because
away.
this is what I'll tell you what's been revealed by Charles Soule and what he specifically said, and it also had me questioning it too because I remember I asked him a question regarding what Carson just said, like how his role is defined. Because in the official marketing, he says like Markian Ro is like the eye of the Nile, and that like he not necessarily a leader, blah blah blah. And I'm like, then how is he the main villain? And Charles Soule was like, you have to wait and see. And I'm like, oh, okay. But as I'm reading the book, I understand the subculture. I understand everything going on. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm starting. It's still kind of confusing in terms of
it makes it very clear by the end.
Plans and plot. Okay, great. Yeah, Carson's like reading my mind because like I have 100 pages left. I'm like, what's his main deal going into the end game of this novel? But okay, very clear at the end. I'm glad to hear that. But yeah, Markian Ro is easily my favorite character in the book, next to Bell Zettifer. Because I think Bell is just a very interesting character. He's a Jedi Padawan, right? Not a knight yet.
Yes, Padawan.
Under Loden Greystorm, which is also a fantastic Jedi. And that gets into the pros of this book, in the pros of this era. And that is how the Jedi are as a culture, how they are as people. And they're so, it seems like very cliche to say, but they're so free compared to how they were in the prequels. Because I'm reading this book and I'm trying to, in my head, distinguish how exactly were they in the prequels? How exactly are they now? Because there are some similarities.
They're not only free. I would say they're very much think first, lightsaber second, if that makes any sense. They're very much calculated in the sense that they think about the risk of every situation before, and you'll get to a point later in the book where getting into a certain conflict is such a big deal for them to make a decision on. And
I really got
the Clone Wars, and something like in the Clone Wars, that's the thing that they're just day after they're like, we're going to the trenches, clone army. Here we go. We're the leaders of the clone army, and we're going right into battle. The High Republic Jedi understand that there's way more complicated issues with how the Jedi are represented as people of peace, and how their reputation in the galaxy can affect things. And it's so interesting, and I don't want to say any. There's so many little details that I want to talk about in quotes. And
Me too. I literally bookmarked
even down to how the ships are activated in this book. It gets down to like that little thing of like that's so good for the Jedi of this era. And it's so amazing.
There was a page. It was like in December. It was after the Mando season finale in StarWars.com, in the HighRepublic.com. They revealed the new ships of the High Republic. We didn't really talk about it because we were during our hiatus. But there's a page on Lucasfilm about like the new High Republic vehicles. And the vectors are one. There's a page for the vectors, the long beams. I wonder if I can pull it up. But the vectors, the long beams, and what else is in that page? I think the Legacy Run ship is in that page. The concept art of the Legacy Run,
is
in that page as well. But yeah, the vectors are really cool in design. They look really awesome. Really, really cool ships. Similar in design to like the clone trooper ships in the Clone Wars, but much more sleeker. The long beams are really cool as well, kind of like Hammerhead sharks, but as a ship. And yeah, this is super, super exciting in terms of the new vehicles in this era, the way the Jedi perceive the Force. Yes, the way the Jedi perceive the Force is very interesting in this book. Charles Soule really dives into how each Jedi perceives the Force differently. One might perceive it as songs, or as a big ocean, as a fire, as a light. So it's very interesting.
Or just the Force. Like some of them are very like.
Or just the Force, yeah.
And what's interesting, I can't say anything, but you know how the Jedi, especially in the prequels, are very like, oh, we must trust the Force and not do anything at this instance because we must trust the Force because we're going to wait for it to do something. They're very much different in how they like sit back and philosophize. They're like, yes, we're going to trust the Force, but we're also going to follow the Force and let it guide us, not necessarily hold back and wait for the answer to be spoon fed to us. They're very much like they act on their intentions and they, make good on promises where, even in like something like Clone Wars season 7, we see like the two sisters that are on Coruscant that talk about how
Trace and Rafa.
Yeah.
Trace and Rafa, how the something crashed down there, and the Jedi's like, "Oh, gotta go, thoughts and prayers." Like the High Republic
Thanks,
Jedi
Luminara.
would never. The High Republic Jedi are very much. We must save every life possible to any extent possible.
I'm so intrigued to see like how like the corruption of that order is going to like get to
right. It's fascinating, and you get little even at the end of the book, you get little hints of little collaborations, how they negotiate with each other, and there's some stuff that goes on that it kind of gives hints to the future of that. But it's still early, and that's what the most exciting thing about this is. This is like this is like the launch book, and like we're gonna have like probably a couple of years of High Republic storytelling, and it gets me so excited.
Yeah, I have a question
with these characters.
So this is 200 years before the Skywalker saga. Is Light of the Jedi at year 0 of that 200 years? Like, where are we at in terms of that 200 years?
I think
like, year 10, year 20, year 50.
So would that be?
How far into the High Republic are we? I just want.
Is that 229 BB1?
Yeah, but
actually,
I have a question I really want to ask Charles Soule.
That's a good question because if I'm looking,
because it seems like they've been living this High Republic time for a bit.
I'm gonna say at least 50 years into that.
Okay.
Oh, I did want
to.
I did want to ask. What was? How was the? I don't know, like how it functioned in the story, but the Starlight Beacon.
Don't say anything. I haven't gotten to that to a certain. I don't know. It's in the story. It's in the story, but like right. I think it's not the main crux of the story.
Okay.
We had all this speculation of what it was. I mean, we knew kind of what it was going to be, but like
I look at it and I just like instantly think of like the Justice League space station.
Of course, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say anything because it ties really deeply into everything.
Can you say it's like?
But I will
like
say
base function or.
Oh yeah. Like the function is like it's been revealed already, and the function is to like spearhead the growth of like the this peacetime and try and spread the goodwill of the Jedi and the Republic as a whole
and
throughout the galaxy.
Is it something that like moves across the galaxy?
No,
it's not really.
I'm not sure. It's placed in the Outer Rim, and it's kind of like a checkpoint that relays signals. It has exhibits. It has all sorts. It has a Jedi outpost. It has all sorts.
It's like a place that like it's like a place that people can like dock and visit and like.
Yes, it's like a meeting point. It's like a main base for anyone.
Like in Star Trek Beyond.
Kind of.
Okay.
But Evan, you'll get to some of the stuff about that kind of pays off.
I figured I will towards the end of the novel. Yeah, that's why I said like don't say anything, Carson, because I might not.
It's definitely more symbolic than like literal plot device.
Yeah, I think Claudia Gray's book again deals with the Starlight Beacon in more detail.
Yeah, and the character that I really actually find interesting in this book that we haven't talked about yet is Chancellor So, who is the Chancellor of the High Republic, and again, it is so cool to see like a hopeful and non-fascist leader like in power, like like actually caring about things and like working with people. It's like, oh my god, like wow.
It's so funny.
What is that like?
We think of the prequel Jedi, and we mostly think of like the Clone Wars onward, but like we do have a whole movie in the Phantom Menace a little bit about like what they kind of were before their big downfall. And you only really have one Jedi in Qui-Gon, who's kind of like your look at too, like what the Jedi should be. But everybody else is pretty dark and crazy.
I laughed so much in like a Phantom Menace where it's just like I'm looking at Mace Windu in that movie, and it seems like he just doesn't care about anything because they're just like, oh, there's this like really powerful force sensitive boy. Fine, bring him. Like he's just like so tired.
Yeah, they're so against it and everything. They don't really delve into this book, like how their process of like age and everything. I'm very
like
curious
younglings
about
and stuff.
Yeah, like I'm really curious about that. Like, are they as strict as like Mace was in Phantom Menace? Like, if somebody like Anakin showed up for these High Republic Jedi, how would they react?
I wonder if there'll be like some causality through like maybe somebody's turned to the dark side that will then implement new like worries and like rules into the order.
That's fascinating, right? I think we might have to dive into that in the future books.
Yeah,
possibly.
you'll okay, I can't say anything, but
Moving on.
towards the end you will get something that you'll like.
Interesting,
Yeah.
but
I don't know.
the Nile becomes a Jedi. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I'm very curious to see the future of this era. Like what goes on, what focuses. Yeah,
I forget. Are we like still operating on the Coruscant Jedi Temple?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that's much of a spoiler. Yeah, you're Coruscant.
Okay.
And you will see some familiar mentions. Not like obviously we know Yoda is like in this era, but not like some other stuff. I'm like, oh, it's so and so who's like old, but like still kicking. And I'm like, I forgot this character was this old. Like,
Oh, really? Maybe I'll ask you about that offhand because I don't know anybody else besides Yoda who is still alive.
Oh, okay.
Can I throw a guess?
I'm not good with names. Maybe that's why. What?
I kind of want to throw a guess on like who that could be because now I'm just thinking like who looks old on the council and I'm like,
yeah, take a guess. Maybe I might.
Yeah, you can totally guess.
I'm guessing Kiadi Mundi. Maybe I don't know. I don't know his name.
No.
I would have remembered that name. I don't think
He's kind of okay. This character I'm talking about is kind of a meme.
Yaddle?
The guy who dies by Dooku in the Clone Wars.
The long.
Let me pull it up.
Bobs his head back and forth in the background.
Maybe if he has some kind of thermal reactor, thermal oscillator.
I'm pretty sure that your boy is in it and gets mentioned.
My boy.
Who's our boy?
Mace Windu.
Share the screen. Share the screen.
Oh, I didn't see. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, that's what I said. Long neck boy. Haha.
Yeah, long neck boy. Yarl Poof.
Yarl Poof.
Oh, is he in this book? Oh wow.
Yeah, he is.
Do you have a page number for that, Carson? Or
no, I do not. But I probably could find it if I clicked.
I think I recently got past the council parts. Oh, I literally opened up my book and I see the name Yarl Poof. That's crazy.
Tell me the page.
Crap.
What
That's
page?
weird. I have 100 pages left. I think I'm on page 300. I think there's 400. I don't like looking at the exact page number of books, so I have no idea how many pages I have left.
But like, what page is Yarl Poof?
I don't want to tell you because it's spoiler.
Yeah, no, don't read the council's
Don't
name
read the
because-
council.
Oh, okay, you're right.
But yeah, it's starts with a 3. But it's interesting. That's crazy. I literally just flipped open my book. That's where I'm at. Spoiler alert. I'm on page whatever.
Carson's like, oh my god.
That's the other thing I want to mention briefly. And now that we mentioned like connections, I am so refreshed that like
yes.
now every 4 seconds in this book we're like, what's Master Yoda doing? What the blah Coruscant? This does its thing, tells its characters, establishes new things, establishes like just so much that to itself and just builds itself up and doesn't depend on anything else. And it's amazing.
Incredible. Yeah, it's such a refreshing book. The antagonists are new and unique. The Jedi themselves are new and unique. The Force is the different ways they use the Force and new Force abilities.
Yes. You got to the activation, right?
What? Yeah.
You got to the active. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The callback to certain Force abilities, so maybe like the Old Republic could show up in here. But yeah, so it's really cool. It's really cool.
Any Force echoes or?
No, I don't think so.
Oh. All right.
But yeah, this book is just super refreshing, awesome. I love Charles Soule's writing. The one critique, if I had any, if I wanted to nitpick, is the description of certain characters. I didn't really like. He would give me an alien species. I'm like, that's cool, but I don't really know like the facial features.
It's vague,
somebody like Claudia Gray, I think, is very well written in terms of what the character looks like. I knew what Sienna and whatever in Lost Stars looked like. I knew what certain characters looked like with Claudia Gray. Charles Soule, not so much in terms of character descriptions.
Yeah.
What are
but
the
Gives you like
what
that.
were the
He
other-
gives like that one sentence, like so and so,
Yeah.
two features,
That's
species,
it.
and then you don't really get a lot reoccurring descriptions, which I think helps to somewhat extent. But also they can kind of get away with it because there's been so much concept art and stuff that's. So once you get that
Exactly.
connection, you're kind of fine because
Yeah.
you know that there other things are in the comics, and then you see
Yeah,
the
it's a
visualization of
nitpick
them
because
elsewhere.
like most of the characters are in the comic books, but some that aren't, or some that I don't
Yeah.
think are going to be in comic books are kind of like, what does he really look like?
Yeah,
But
and we don't know
otherwise,
every species.
really cool.
Like I don't know every species. Some of the species are like I don't know what this is. Like
I tried Googling, but most species are new, so it's like, oh, okay.
right, it's hard.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like once we like see them in like the comic book illustrations, we'll get a sense.
Exactly, and I haven't read the first issue of the comic book yet. I'll do a review for
It's
that.
good.
And the
Oh, is
book
the comic
in
out?
It's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
comic
the
book came
issue
out.
1 is out.
It came out, or it's taking place after the first book. So I want to read the book first, then I want to read the comic book.
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
What
And you
is
should definitely read the book first.
what are some other books that Charles Soules have written? Because I'm pretty sure he has.
He did the Darth. Oh, like you mean novels or just comic books?
Did he do comic books?
Yeah. That's where
The Vader run.
He did the
Oh.
Vader run, the 2018 Vader run. He did the. I'm blanking. Oh, he's doing the
Rise of
new
Kylo Ren, didn't he?
Rise of Kylo Ren, and he's doing
Yeah.
the current Star Wars run right now, which takes
Rise of
place
Kylo Ren
after-
sold, but
He
did he
did,
write
yeah.
any novels? Or
He
He's
has written
some other sci-fi
novels,
novels, right?
some sci-fi novels. Yeah,
oh, but nothing like in the canon.
nothing in
Nothing in
Star
canon.
Wars.
This is first.
Okay. Wow.
But yeah, that's pretty much it on Light of the Jedi. I want to do the spoilers like next week. Nathan,
For
if you haven't
sure,
finished it, like me and Cars can just do something because I have so much. I'm like building up. And I want
Oh,
to
I have
spill.
so much.
Do a 3-hour review of Light of the Jedi.
Maybe like
But,
just like I'll listen to audiobook like on my bike rides or something.
Exactly.
I'm gonna read. I picked up the. I returned my Rise of Skywalker credit audiobook and got Test of Courage instead because you can return your Audible books.
Oh, I have Test
up
of
to,
Courage
like,
too. So
Yeah,
can
so
talk
I got
about
it,
that next week.
and it's only a 4-hour audiobook, so I'm pumped that that's
Oh,
gonna be
wow.
a quick, fun read. And I've heard great things. Trey said it wasn't even like a kid's novel; like it very much felt like mature in its own kind of way. So I'm excited to get into that. And of course, Into the Dark next month already. Claudia Gray's new novel, and then July already we have Rising Storm by Kevin Scott, the sequel to definitively Light of the Jedi, which is awesome.
Yeah. And I want to get into, before we end the show today, some of the newer books coming out. There's apparently a manga called The Edge of Balance coming out from Marvel and IDW, which has me super excited. It's written by Justina Ireland and illustrated by Shima Shinya and Mizuki Sakarakibara. Yeah. Mizuki
Is it this year?
Sakarakibara. The first in the new series. No date. I hope it's this year. I would assume. What else? Also at the new High Republic announcement, they talked about the phases. So phase 1 is Light of the Jedi. Phase 2 is Quest of the Jedi, and phase 3 is Trials of the Jedi. Everything this year is going to be still part of phase 1. We don't know when phase 1 is going to end, though. They are pretty coy about that.
Which is good.
Which is good, yeah. And Justina Ireland's next book, she's doing a YA book after Claudia Gray's YA book, and it's called Out of the Shadows, which is a play on like Claudia Gray's first book is called Into the Dark next month. So Justina Ireland's next YA book is called Out of the Shadows. Get it? Into the Dark, then Out of the Shadows. So pretty cool.
And Claudia is doing another one, but I'm assuming it's going to be the third big book.
That's what I'm assuming too. Because again, they were pretty cool about that. Yeah. At the High Republic event, they're like, Claudia, can you say what you're doing? And she's like, can't say anything.
If I had to guess, phase 2, the first book of the big launch of phase 2, probably next year.
I would assume so as well. Because
I think the biggest question I have out of all this is like, does this reinvigorate your hype for the publishing panel?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for it. I'll go to every publishing panel, even if I don't get to see J.J. Abrams. I'll still go to the publishing panel.
What if Patty Jenkins is on stage?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
she did Wonder Woman 84. I'm not excited anymore. I'm just kidding.
We will have words tomorrow, I guess. But
I'm kidding. Yeah, we will. Oh yeah, that's a plug for tomorrow. We'll do a Wonder Woman 84 review.
Wonder Woman, WandaVision.
Ooh, it's gonna be a fun one tomorrow.
Any Spider-Verse news? I don't care.
Wonder Vision.
Probably. Yeah, I haven't looked up about that. Is Cap back? We'll see.
WandaVision 1984, which is probably going to be one of the episodes.
But yeah, I'm super excited about the upcoming books for the High Republic. Just this book in general. I was already excited for High Republic, but now I'm reading this book, and I just want this book to be like 400 pages longer, so I can just keep on reading.
I didn't want to leave.
Era. It's just such a good era. I might reread a couple parts of it. I already have tons of like notes and like bookmarks in this book about certain sections that I love.
Our spoiler review, we're just gonna be like quote after all this stuff. I'm so excited.
Just pull out some sticky notes, put them on each page that you want to just like tackle.
Yeah, I might go back through this week and like because it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Alrighty. Otherwise, wow, look at that. Past 11 o'clock. Jesus, we gotta get out of here. No, it's
3 hours till WandaVision.
Well, I'm gonna spend so long on WandaVision when we talk about that tomorrow. I can't wait. I'll have to like talk with you guys like for start times because at some point I'm gonna have to log off. But yes, this show was fun. It's good to be back. Good to be back talking all things Star Wars content. Not really on the episodic up and up anymore, and at least not until Bad Batch comes out. But we got plenty of fun, more open topics that we can discuss. Quick little plug, kind of. I have recently decided to launch a Patreon, which I thought was fun. And there's actually a tier that you can join called Punch It, the Punch It tier, of which you can submit your own viewer-specific questions on both My Cup of Tea and Hyperspace Hype that we will answer personally for you. A little plug there just for podcast relatedness. But with that being said, Carson, where can they find you?
You guys can find me over on Twitter at the Film Carson. Next week we'll see how this country is operating. I don't know what the status of things will be, but I'll be reading books and I don't know, thinking about the High Republic. I guess I'm excited to like break down the book in full, and also, I'm just glad to be back on Hyperspace Hype. I think we're gonna, especially because we're kind of in a down period of like the Star Wars film and TV content right now. We have a lot more creative topics this year that we can have fun kind of freestyling on. So I can't wait to just talk about some characters and random things like we always find. So great episode.
Evan, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at HarrisEV9. Watch Attack on Titan, everybody. That comes on every Sunday. I gotta plug it. New Year, same me. Still watching Attack on Titan. It's fantastic. But yeah, I'm super excited for the prospects of this podcast this year because, like Carson said, there's going to be some downtime. We're going to have Bad Batch and Boba Fett, but there's going to be a lot more stuff and freedom to talk about other stuff in the Star Wars galaxy. That's going to be very fun. And overall, I'm excited to be back. This was a great podcast. Can't wait to dive into more High Republic stuff in the future.
And as always, you can find me here on the channel watching WandaVision weekly to replace The Mandalorian, which will be fun and more sleepless nights because I don't have a proper sleep schedule. Also, my legs are dying from adapting to a bike, so that's fun. But otherwise, we're going to start launching a bunch of different stuff here on the channel, including a big little investor day of my own come February 5th. Which will feature me and hopefully Carson and other cast of my upcoming show, which we'll have a discussion of, which will be fun. So I'm probably going to plug that every time until we get there. So that being said, if you guys did enjoy our podcast, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if not already. That being said, I hope you have a great day, and may the Force be with you always.